Your sales problems are not sales problems. Your hiring and team performance problems, it's not your team. All of these, at a root, stem back to operations. Operations touches every single part of your business. And the challenge is when your operations are terrible, what it looks like is a sales problem, a marketing problem, that team issue that keeps coming up again and again, that client fire that never seems to go away. But when we look deeper at the root, it's a lack of system, process, and a lack of foundation that's preventing your business from scaling successfully. So let's break this down one by one. And I want to show you how your marketing problems aren't marketing problems, your sales problems aren't sales problems. How are these at a root operations, and how can you improve your operations to systematically level up their performance across every single department in your business? So let's start with marketing, right? Marketing problems looks like we don't have enough leads. These leads are poor quality. These are the issues that plague marketing departments every single day. How is this actually operations? Well, at the root, maybe your lead quality problem is because from a strategic perspective, you're not actually clear on who your ideal client avatar is. The job of operations is to consistently put time on the books for the leadership team to get hyper-focused and hyper-clear around who are we serving, how we get in front of these people consistently. And if you as a leader are too busy in the weeds, stuck in the day-to-day of the weeds, and you never have a chance to pull yourself out, look at the 30,000-foot view of your business and ask yourself, why is this happening? Then you'll never have the opportunity to actually solve the root cause issue on your marketing, which is we're maybe talking to the wrong people, we're not getting in front of them and where they're actually hanging out, we're not targeting the right messaging, we're not targeting them in the right ways or at the right frequency. Other things that we see in marketing all the time, we're not touching people at the right time, we're not utilizing the right messaging, we don't know if we're talking to them in the right channels. 100% of these questions get solved through operations, because at the end of the day, operations is data. And if your marketing team doesn't have the data to actually be looking at and saying what's working, what's not, and what we need to test and try and do better with, if they are just going on gut, going on intuition, throwing things at the wall and hoping things stick, then that's a lot of energy and output that your marketing team is trying to throw into the business, and the return back to the business, hit, miss, minimal, because they are not actually backed by data. They're not actually backed by a clear set of numbers that's going to tell them, this is what's working, that was better than the time it was before, tweak it, try it again, and let's see how it goes. So there's amazing marketers on your team. Maybe you're the amazing marketer on your team, but you are going off of sheer gut intuition about what you think is going to work, and you are leaving so many leads on the table because you're lacking the data that helps guide your actions and tell you, actually, you were one step off from an absolute gold mine, and you missed it by one step. And because we didn't have the data there to catch it, we just pivoted, we tried something totally different, and now we lost out on that massive opportunity. Let's talk about sales. Sales is the big one. The average sales team hates using systems, doesn't want to leave notes about their calls, doesn't want to follow up with those clients 2, 3, 4 times, probably forget that they talked to that client 2 months ago and that they need to follow up with them again. The average sales funnel is the leakiest funnel you have ever seen, because it is this amazing sales guy who isn't being tracked or held accountable and isn't backed by the right automations and the right systems. And so he's out there doing his best, talking to these amazing people, but how many leads are leaking out of your sales funnel right now due to a lack of follow-up, due to a lack of automated texts and emails and sequences reminding them to show up to the call or reminding them what to do after the call? How many leads do you talk to and then they just drop out of your ecosystem forever because you don't have the right automations in place to follow up with them, nurture them, reactivate them, and bring them back to the table? How many sales are you losing because you, the CEO, lack the time to show up and do dedicated sales training with your team? Or if you are the closer, are you really showing up and doing your best work on every single closing call when you just hopped off a client fire and you're about to jump into another one? The job of operations is to support your sales team in being as effective and efficient as possible, meaning that they shouldn't have to do anything other than show up on that call, crush and close. But everything else that goes into sales still needs to get done, and it needs to take place around them. And that's the systems and the processes that are going to allow your sales team to be as tight and lean as possible. The final way that operations, and this is the real secret killer, absolutely supports sales is that, be honest with yourself, have you ever, subconsciously or consciously, pumped the brakes on sales? Have you ever turned down the client or not gone for the hard close because you know on the back end that client is going to become a headache for you? If you close another client, that means more work for you. If you bring on 5, 10 new clients this month, everything on the back end is going to break, so you don't. Operations ultimately is what allows you to feel fully confident and have full conviction that every single client that you close on the front end is going to have a phenomenal experience on the back end, and that each new client doesn't have to mean more client fires for you to clean up, more team questions for you to have to answer. New clients don't have to mean more work for you. And when you can separate those two things out, you can go out to the front end and be as confident as you want to be, acquiring new clients, inviting new clients into your ecosystem, knowing full well that the back end is scalable, the back end will not break, and that those clients are going to have the most success possible. Now let's talk about the back end of the business. I hope it's clear up until now that operations is not just stuck to the back end. Operations is not client success. Operations isn't client fulfillment. Operations covers every single department, front to back, across the business. And there's a ton of operational complexity and a ton of inefficiency on the back end, which is why most operators put their time, their energy, and their focus there. So on the back end, we're looking at product, we're looking at client success, and your back end, I can promise you now, is leaking tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year due to operational inefficiencies. But it may not look like it. So let me give you a tactical example here. The job of operations ultimately is to make your team more efficient, make your team more productive, make them more effective at their roles. When I was COO for a digital marketing agency, the average agency in our niche, each account manager, each client success manager could manage between 30 to 40 client accounts, okay? Our account managers were handling between 80 to 100 client accounts each. Not because our team was significantly better than any other team, but because they were backed by the right operations, with the right systems, the right automations that I was able to put in place and put around our team. Every single person on our team was 2 to 3x as productive compared to our average competitor. So on the back end, you might be looking at your team and they're probably saying things like, man, I'm really overwhelmed right now. I'm really stressed right now. It feels like the back end of our business is chaos all the time. I'm running around just trying to figure out what's going on. And the reality is that none of that has to happen. Operations can eliminate 100% of that day-to-day chaos. It can eliminate 100% of the running around trying to figure out what's going on so that you can get back to doing your job. When operations is working well, all that it looks like is your team actually doing their job, showing up and doing their job as effectively and efficiently as possible, not being bogged down by anything else. And when they are fully optimized for their highest productivity, you get 2 to 3x the amount of revenue output, the amount of client load, the level of client experience and quality from the same group of people. And what that looks like to you, the business owner, is profit. Because the salary that you didn't have to pay for drops straight to your bottom line. The team that you didn't have to manage and build drops straight to your bottom line because you are getting the most out of every single person that you've got. So the challenge with operations is that when it's running really well, what it looks like is great marketing, great sales, a client success team that is crushing it and spending 100% of their time on client retention and client upsells. What it looks like is a healthy, well-functioning, highly productive company, top to bottom, front to back. If you are looking at your business right now and you don't see that, you see a lack of quality leads and an inconsistency in leads coming in on the front end. You see hit or miss sales months. You see a ton of leads just leaking and disappearing out of your sales funnel or out of your marketing ecosystem. You see client fires, you see client churn, you see team coming to you with the same questions over and over again. I can promise you, these aren't marketing problems. These aren't sales problems. These aren't client success problems. Your team is probably great, but they're not backed by the right systems, the right infrastructure that allows them to be as successful as possible in their roles. And that is ultimately costing them a ton of time, energy, frustration. It's ultimately costing you a ton of time and energy doing things, solving fires and picking up dropped balls that you know you shouldn't be doing. It's ultimately costing you a ton of money because your team is not as productive, is not as efficient, and is moving slower than it could otherwise. Ultimately, it's costing your company growth, speed, profitability. And the answer isn't Hire more marketers, hire more salespeople, hire more client success, hire operations. Bring that one person in that can increase the productivity and the efficiency of everyone else. And it will be the highest ROI hire that you can make. So you're probably wondering right now, is she right? Do I have a sales problem or an operations problem? How do you know? A couple of leading indicators to look for to know that in fact your sales problem is an ops problem. Number one, does your salesperson seem really busy but not productive? Meaning they're working hard. They're taking a lot of calls. They're talking to a lot of people. But when you look at the data, there's not that many clients actually coming in the door. Number two, do you actually know how hard your salesperson is working? Could you tell me right now, Jonna, I've got all of the numbers. Here's how many calls they take a day. Here's how many of those calls show up. Here's how many of those calls convert. If you don't know the numbers, if you don't have the data around your sales process, I can promise you it's an operations problem and it is leaking tens of thousands of dollars out of your sales funnel right this second. Because if you don't have the numbers, then you don't know where the problem is. Maybe your salesperson is in fact terrible. How would you know? Unless you were able to consistently measure and track their performance, unless you were able to consistently measure and track how all of the work and all of the training and all the improvements you're bringing to the sales process are actually working or not, you can't know that you're solving the right problem until you have the data to back it up. And so if you are seeing a lot of activity but not a lot of output, if you are seeing leads disappear and reappear out of nowhere, like where did this person come from? Oh yeah, didn't we talk to them 3 months ago? Oh yeah, whatever happened with that? If you're seeing indications that leads are not being nurtured in a systematic way and walked through the sales funnel in a systematic way, if they come and they go and they reappear, all of this are leading indicators that says your sales problem is not a sales problem, it's an operations problem. And getting the right systems and the right data tracking in place, not only is going to immediately improve your sales conversions, but it's actually going to allow you to focus on where you need to solve the next problem, where the next limiting factor in the system is, because you can look at it conversion by conversion, identify what's not working well, and then create a solution specifically for that. Guys, if this was helpful to you, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, would love to share more wisdom with you down the road, but most importantly, comment. Drop your questions in the comments below. Me and my team personally look at those, and I want to make sure that the information you're getting out of these videos, you can take, you can action, you can report back, and we can make your business better together.